Hour being 7:30, we'll kick off the meeting for Board of Health. We have our meeting agenda for the 17th. First thing on our agenda is the approval of minutes from June 3rd.
Right, and that's the first error on the top. Mine says June 2nd.
I saw that
You got
too.
it. Good test. You passed.
Okay,
I did see that as well, so I will make that change.
great.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments or questions around the minutes?
No, I just had a question. I know like we approved the meetings for July 22nd and August 19th, but like July 22nd, I mean I can still make it. It's just gonna be very tight. Something came up. Any chance we could move it up like to the 15th? I don't remember if anyone had a problem with the 15th. That's why we moved it to the 22nd. Not sure.
I think there were a couple of conflicts on the 15th, if I remember correctly.
I will be out.
Oh, you'll be out. Okay. Oh, okay.
No problem. I mean, you might still have a quorum.
I was gonna be out as well.
Oh, maybe you won't.
Oh. No, then let's just keep it the 22nd.
Okay,
Okay.
so we have the 22nd and then we have August 19th.
Yeah.
Okay.
And definitely have a quorum right on the 22nd, just in case I wasn't able to make it. Okay,
Perfect. Thank you for bringing that up, Mona.
no problem.
I guess there's only a couple of other little editing questions on the line. Also present, looks like we have John Galassa, Galassa Engineering, Yasmin, applicant for 1692 Washington Street. Is that supposed to be a semicolon? Because it looks like the next ones are names, and then at the very end of that, maybe a period instead of comma.
Perfect. We can make those changes. Definitely, I see.
We can't let Mona have all the corrections. Gotta throw something in there.
For once.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Any other questions, comments, edits? Then we'll entertain a motion regarding the minutes.
Okay, I'll make a motion in regards to the minutes from the June 3rd, 2025 meeting. The Board of Health approves the minutes as amended.
Motion's made. Do we hear a second?
A second.
Perfect. Motion made. Second. Any other comments, questions, discussions? Okay, so we'll put it to a vote. Looks like we have, let me start at the list. So we have Rachel
Aye.
and Stefan
Aye.
and Mona
Aye.
and myself. Aye also. Is that everybody? I have a list that looks like that's it. 400. Minutes are accepted. Next on our agenda is annual permit for 67A Diamond Street. Do we have anybody online representing the applicant?
Yes.
Great. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and giving us a little background of what the application is for, and then we'll go from there.
First, I just want to say it's 167 Diamond Street. So there's a 167. And so my name's Sasha Supa. I just moved to the area from Norwood. I live here with my 2 young children. We're trying to bring our chickens over. They're our pets and our eggs, and they also eat all of our food scraps, so they kind of diminish trash too. So they have many benefits. So I just wanted to see how my application passed or went through, and if there's any questions for me.
Sure. The first one, I see that you mentioned 6. You currently have 6 that are at your the old residence?
I had actually originally had 30 at my old residence. Now I have 8 currently
8.
over here now.
Okay.
Would she need a permit for 8 or 6? Because it's application is 6, right? It says 6 on the application.
Oh, okay.
We can easily amend that on Viewpoint.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. And I also had a question. Now, you live in a duplex kind of setting. So you're unit B, but you're going to be using the lot from unit A. And I believe someone had sent a letter to the Board of Health.
No, I'm in Unit A.
You're in unit A.
Mhm.
Okay, so you're going to be using your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the issue with Jean St. George? I believe she's opposing the application due to the fact that she said that, you guys are back to the central pool and memorial pond, and she said a lot of people walk their dogs in off the leash and she said she's seen like many raccoons and coyotes and foxes in the area, and she also
So Mona, you have the 3 letters. So 2 of the letters are from the owners of the property since it is a
Right.
duplex.
They
And then
approved.
that additional letter, correct, is from a neighbor who is opposing. So not abnormal to our animal permit applications that we see. Obviously, that's the reasoning too why we're notifying the abutters to give them the opportunity to come forward. But the 2 first letters are from the owners of the property. Since it is a little bit of a rarity that we see an animal permit applied for from a condo standpoint. Normally, it's a single family owner-owned home. So just to kind of clarify those letters as well.
Right. So my understanding, so the person opposing, the neighbor who's opposing, like, I mean, I know that they've seen like the animals in the past. Like, I'm not sure, like, are they afraid that it's the chicken are gonna attract more wild animals? Is this why they're sending
It seems like that was the residents' concerns as they did vocalize that in the letter, correct?
Okay.
In the letter, I mean, just reading it through, it doesn't necessarily even say that they oppose, just they're making statements around it. They're just requesting the Board of Health make a site visit to view the property. It looks like I know the animal control officer makes a visit, but the Board of Health issues a permit. And I think the idea of the animal control officer is really the one who has the expertise. I have no issue visiting someone's house and taking a look at chickens, but I think that's probably best left in the hands of the animal control officer from that perspective. But if it does read that they're in opposition, it's something we do get periodically, and I understand why. But that we'll just take that into account when we make our discussions.
Mhm. And any chance we could have Megan maybe like represent us and just visit the site and just address any concerns, or that wouldn't affect the permit?
I mean,
Yeah, I think it's.
ultimately, oh,
Oh,
sorry.
no,
Oh,
Megan,
no, go
please.
ahead, Rich. I would say
Uh,
ultimately oh, sorry. Zoom difficulties. Ultimately, Dina did go out. So Dina is who she's, works through the health department as our
Right.
animal inspection officer. So she did go out. She's the one has the background in animal control, animal inspection. So I think ultimately she gave the go ahead. So I don't know if there's much more I could go out and see that would be different than what Dina would
So there were no raised concerns from Dina, like she's okay with
she gave the go ahead. Yeah.
okay.
Maybe just because Miss Saint George, it doesn't specifically is not clear exactly if she's opposing or making statements. Is it possible at all just to kind of circle back with her and just clarify what her concerns might be, and if she is opposing, just to make a note to it and remind her that she does have obviously the opportunity anytime to have discussions in the future with the Board of Health if there's any issues or concerns or questions she might
Yeah.
have
She
if
did.
it's
She came
granted.
down to the office, so we did kind of have those discussions with her.
Perfect.
I think she wanted to be present tonight, but I think she had some conflicts with the Zoom meeting. So I did tell her to express her concerns in a letter. But I think we did kind of have a conversation at the Board of Health window to kind of address. It's the animal control officer that goes out. There is regular inspections part of the process, and then ultimately, should there be any nuisance complaints that come to the Board of Health, that we address those in combination with Dina, the animal control officer.
Right. And
Perfect.
this is a common concern too. Like we've seen that in the past, like between abutters, right?
Mhm.
And about attracting wild animal. Okay.
If we could do, Ms. Supa, if we could ask a question. You said that obviously you brought animals from your prior residence. So you currently have them now. Do you have a coop already set up and everything? Is that
Yeah, I
so when
do.
they inspected?
Mm-hmm. I have a coop. I have a run where they're caged in, to but accessible to the outdoors. So I do have them free range, so they come out during the day and they're in my fenced in yard. They haven't tried to leave it yet, and then at night they go back in. So and I close them in at night and I let them out in the morning. So they can be encaged as well and not let out. That's a possibility if anybody has any issues.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we'd ever dictate that. Just obviously you're very familiar with the animals and what our other animals in the areas can do to the poor chickens and
Yeah.
hogs. I know it's but you're well aware of that. Your experience. So,
Yeah.
okay. Any questions from anybody else on the board?
Yeah, one last question. So the back is split in half. Is there like a wall, a dividing wall, or is it just open?
There's a garden, there's a fence that runs through
There is a fence.
the middle.
Okay. So there's no way that
Abutting
to go
to
okay. Okay.
between my neighbor and I. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Perfect. And there are no roosters allowed. You know that, I'm sure.
Yeah, no
Mhm.
roosters.
All right. Any other questions? So the animal inspector, there was no objections, no questions or concerns with the setup. She probably obviously got to see the chickens and had no concerns. Okay.
Yeah.
May I ask a question as an abutter?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I should have asked if there's anybody else on the line. Please, if you wouldn't mind, you could just there's a couple of folks. If you could just introduce yourself and
Sure.
tell us your
I'm
name,
Maggie
please.
Taroni. I live at 153 Diamond Street. I had spoke to someone, I think it was Megan. I think we had a phone conversation.
I think it might have been me, Maggie, Melissa,
Oh, okay.
the health director.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks, Melissa.
Of course.
So the only two concerns I had after my conversation with Melissa, excuse me, was noise and manure, taking care of the manure and the smell of the chickens themselves. And then added to that is there any limit if our neighbor had 30 at her other residence? Could the chickens get up to that number? So those are my three questions, please.
Sorry. No, they can't. So there's no rooster. So I don't actually plan on housing any more than the amount that I have right now. And they can't multiply without a rooster. So that won't be an issue. The person who bought my home prior wanted to keep the other chickens, so I left them over there. So that's what the number.
And that's something, Margie, that our animal inspector, so anytime there's any revisions to the amount of chickens being brought on the property, it does need to go through our animal inspector and the permit does need to be updated. And at that point in time, the animal inspector would be able to determine, if they're adhering to the space requirements. And then also, I know you referenced the manure management as well. So I know that the manure will be taken off site based off of their manure management plan.
And in regards to Mrs. Taroni, I believe, is she still on the line? Oh, Maggie.
Yep.
Maggie,
Yep.
okay. So I mean, in the future, like if there are any complaints from smells or any noise, or any other concerns, please feel free to contact us, or Melissa, and just let us know. I mean,
Okay, great.
we can't predict, what's going to happen, in the future, but hopefully, the chicken will be quiet and no smell. the owner will take good care of them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Maggie, thank you very much. And just one quick question. Do you mind giving me your address for the minutes? We do document just anyone that's on the call.
Certainly, 153 Diamond.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Great. Were there anybody else on the line that also was a butter or had any comments or discussions regarding this permit application? No? Okay. Any other questions for the applicant or the board? Then in that case, we'll entertain a motion regarding the application for animal permit for 167 Diamond Street.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion in regards to the animal permit application at 167 Diamond Street. The Board of Health will grant the application. And pending nothing, right? Because the animal inspector has already been there and checked the coop.
Correct.
Correct. Great. Motion's been made. Do we hear a second?
I'll
I
second.
can-
Oh, and I'm sorry, pending that the application will be corrected to 8 chicken, not 6. Sorry.
Good call. Thank you, Mona. And we had a second. There was a tie game on that. Who won?
I gave it to Rachel. She was the winner.
Ah, look at that.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Always a gentleman. Rachel gave us a second. Any other comments, concerns, questions regarding it? Perfect. Then we will vote. We'll start with Rachel.
Aye.
Stefan.
Aye.
Mona.
Aye.
And I also. So the board has passed the application pending the update of the number of chickens being penned. And we wish you best of luck. Thank you for the application.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. Next on our agenda, we have 2 requests for comment. One regarding 2235 Boston Providence Highway, request determination of applicability.
Sorry, are we gonna add the for John Glossa to speak first? Is that on the
Do we have? Yeah, we actually have that as the next item. I think we had the current
sorry.
agenda had the 2 conservation commissions. Then we pop into John, if that's okay.
Oh, sorry. I
Sorry,
thought.
is that all right?
My bad. Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I think what
Oh.
happened was it was an add-on, and I didn't honestly know if you even received my email because it kept getting bounced back from IT. So I'm glad you did receive the variance request. So I think it's completely up to the board. I don't see anyone on the call or anticipate anyone on the call for the conservation. So if you want to entertain the septic variance first, whatever the board decides is perfectly fine.
When did you send the email, Melissa?
So it got sent yesterday, but I know it got blocked by IT. But
Oh.
Mike, our IT director, said that everyone should have received it by today. He checked, there was some firewalls up, some suspicious activity that prevented from getting it. But Megan will review it with the board, and John's also on the call, and we'll share the plan as well.
Yeah, I saw John was on the call. I'm like, I don't see him on the agenda. So yeah, okay, yeah, it's trying to load mine, and it's keep loading, and nothing's coming up. So all right.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. If we can definitely move on to the permit variance request. Mr. Glossa.
Okay, Megan, can you help me out? Can you do this screen? So, my name's John Glossa Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole, and I'm here representing Hannah Plasker and Jared Reeder, who are the owners of 836 West Street, obviously here in Walpole. And this is sort of an after the fact, after the construction request for a local upgrade approval with a waiver to the 10-foot setback from a property line. And the property line is West Street. And there you can see the plan, and you can see the leach bed, and you can see that line, that nearest line, which is the sideline West Street. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to give you a little bit of sort of history on how roads were and are laid out, and that will explain to you how the contractor, who is Kenny Jones, who, believe me, is the best contractor that I work with as far as septic systems go. He's very diligent, does a great job, and he made a mistake, but you'll see why when I explain why the mistake was not that easy for him to recognize as he was making it. So I'm going to use some words and I'm going to tell you what they are. I'm going to use words like town layout, county layout, state highway layout. I'm going to use the words layout, maybe layout lines, street lines, right of way lines, edge of right of way, public road, edge of traveled way. And so if you think about it, way back like in the 1600s or whatever, when, you know, this area and most of Massachusetts was nothing but farmland, you know, the farmers moved back and forth either on foot or on horse or in wagon, basically based on the terrain and where they wanted to go. They went around a big hill if they could avoid having to go over the hill, or they went around a swampy area if they could avoid going through the swampy area. And so they kind of created, you know, what are known as, you know, currently known as roads. And so to avoid conflict way back then, the government got involved because, you know, Farmer Jones might say to Farmer Brown, hey, stop trespassing across my property, you know, to go to, you know, the center of town or whatever, wherever the farmer was going. So the government got involved and they started laying out roads. And back then, essentially, the road was what we call now, engineers and surveyors, the traveled way. And it was simply the property within which the farmers and their wagons and their cattle or whatever they were moving back and forth. And that was the width of it. It was just where, you know, today it would be from where your tires would be on one side of the road to where your tires would be on the other side of the road. And we still in Walpole and actually in other towns still have roads that's how they're defined. That's how the side of the road is defined. It's literally where the cars pass and repass. But because, you know, over time, you know, wagons got bigger and then all of a sudden now there's automobiles and this and that. The government then got involved with laying out roads that were actually wider than where the cars were traveling, in thinking that, you know, in the future they're going to need, you know, either widen this road or realign the road to make it straighter, to make the curves not so sharp. And starting in the early 1900s or so, maybe even in the late 1800s, in Massachusetts, the county, because we have a fairly robust county system here, right? We still have, you know, county registry of deeds is county. We have sheriffs who are county, and we have an engineering department that's county. And back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, until about 1970 or so, the county would, on behalf of the residents of individual towns, actually lay out roads, right? Not build them, but lay out where the roads are going to be. And obviously, we call that a county layout. And West Street is a county layout. And there's a number of streets in Walpole and in other towns, but in Walpole, that are county layouts. Winter Street's a county layout. Summer Street's a county layout. Fisher Street's a county layout. There's numerous streets that are county layouts. So this street was laid out in 1925. We put 1925 county layout on there, and I believe it's 60 feet wide. So that doesn't mean the pavement's 60 feet wide, but from one side of the, it's actually the town owns it, but the county made the layout. The county did the surveying because the town doesn't necessarily have the ability to do that. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the ability to do it. So the county did it on behalf of the inhabitants of the town of Walpole. So, but West Street in this location, and I think West Street just about everywhere, was never reconstructed. So since 1925, it might have been widened a little bit here or there, but it was never reconstructed so that it was placed in the center of the county layout. So in this case, from the edge of the pavement to the edge of where the town actually owns is about 26 or 27 feet. If you live in a subdivision, the edge of the right of way, the edge of the layout to the edge of the pavement is usually 8 feet. It might be 10 feet, but it's usually 8 feet. So what happened is, so we know this stuff, right? Because that's what we do kind of for a living. So we found sort of the monuments, the bounds that tell us where the county layout is, and that's how we developed the plan. So because the ground in front of this house rises up from the house towards the street, we placed the leach bed over to the left. It's to the left of where you actually see it now, and it's very close to the driveway. So now Kenny comes along to build the system, and he looks at it and he goes, "Oh, that John's a dummy. Why did he put it so close to the driveway? I'm going to wreck the driveway a little bit unless I move it over to the right, 5 feet or so." But by moving it to the right 5 feet, he moved it closer to the county layout line. So we did the as-built, and I said, "Kenny, it's too close to the street." So I said, "But let me call, the Board of Health, Melissa and Megan, and see if we can get a waiver from the board to leave the leach bed where it is." At the same time, I took this plan and the letter and I brought it to the Board of Selectmen because they're the road commissioners. I brought it to the town engineer because he's the consultant to the road commissioners. And I brought it to the head of the public works. So I think there's an email from Carl Baldoff, your town engineer. I talked with Rick Mattson and he had no problem with it all. He says, "I don't care," because it's so far away from the actual edge of pavement that there's really literally no reason why there would be any disturbance from the roadway to that septic system. And the other thing I just want to tell you is, I mean, Kenny would, believe me, he would in a heartbeat, just redo this system. But not only is it costly, you don't get as good a product. When you it's like anything, right? If you bake a cake or something and you kind of mess up and you kind of go back and try to fix it a little bit here, a little bit there, you don't get as good a product. So since it really, and this is, you're going to be your call, not my call, but I think it's sort of de minimis. I don't think it really matters in reality, because even though we're 7.5 feet, we're 10 feet, so we're 2.5 feet too close. The pavement from that leach field to the pavement is 34 feet. So where, if you were sort of in a subdivision, but from the pavement to the leach field, you'd be, 16, 17 feet away. So that's why I told Kenny and Megan and Melissa that in my experience, the best thing to do is just to simply ask the board and see if they'd be kind enough to just grant this waiver to be, 7.51 feet back from the street, even though not from the pavement, but back from the street, where 10 feet's required.
Mr. Glossa, we do appreciate the background. I tell you, every time we have a variance, I definitely learn more and more. So I appreciate you giving us that. Only question I think, just from my perspective, would be, it did mention that there were no plans for expanding or modifying the road or anything in the near future. In the future, if the road was to be widened or impacted, would the town, do they have these drawings the measurements, will they be aware of the 7.51 versus 10 foot that they're expecting? Would they be aware of this, or how could they find that out?
Well, so the process would be that they would hire an engineer, right? A big time, a big engineering company. If that engineering company actually did their work, which would be to do research on the abutting properties, they would find that out. But the obvious physical appurtenance that's there that would tell the engineer that where the leach bed is there's a vent on the end of this leach field, which is literally right at the 7.5 foot dimension back from the edge of the layout line. So I think that they would know, right? They don't just go and start, take a bulldozer and start bulldozing. They just, like when we do the septic plans or plans for, subdivisions or whatever, they need to make a plan. And then it, goes out to bid, it gets approved and goes out to bid and all that stuff. So I think it would be pretty obvious that there's something there because there's a vent literally 7.5 feet back from the layout line.
Good. Anything from Melissa, or Megan? Anything that causes a concern or questions that we or issues with this?
No, no concerns on this plan.
Okay. Anybody else from the board? Any questions for Mr. Glassa?
No.
All right. Then in that case, no questions for him. Anybody want to entertain a motion? And this is just a variance, right? This is just a variance request. Anybody have a perfect? Anybody want to entertain a motion?
I can do a motion. In regards to 836 West Street, the request for local upgrade approval and variance, the board approves the variance to allow the leach bed to be less than 10 feet or 7.51 feet from the property line.
Perfect. Motion has been made. Anybody want a second?
I can second.
Thank you. Has motion made and second. Any other further comments, questions? Would it help, or should we make the mention that this is the not the property line? This is the county line, or anything to that, Mr. Glossa, that we should add?
Well, it is a property line. It's the line that divides the public's ownership from the private ownership. So it is a property line. It's
Perfect.
just we don't use that terminology. That's why I went through all those terms, because you might hear me use words that we say layout line or street line, but it's a property line.
Perfect. Then we'll leave that motion and the second as listed. Any other comments? Then we will vote. And let's start with Mona.
Aye.
And then we have, oops, I'm going the wrong direction. Let's do Stefan
Aye.
and Rachel.
Aye.
And I also. So motion is passed 400. Mr. Glossa, thank you again for your time and the education.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. And thanks to the members of the board and Melissa and Megan. Thank you very much. And I'm
Thanks,
sure
John.
Kenny will be very happy and the homeowners will be very happy because I think
Thank you, John. I really enjoyed the presentation. Took me
Okay.
back years in history.
John.
Best
Thank
of luck.
you.
Thank you, John.
All right, thanks. Night.
All right. And now back to the regularly scheduled program. All right. Next is going back to the two. So these are a little different. These are requests for comment, determination of applicability. I'd be curious, what is our point on these? We have to either support or reject the proposal, and with reasons. Is kind of
No,
our
no,
approach.
no definitive support, yes or no. It's just normal comments. The determination of applicability it's just an application to determine whether or not the project's even meet the Wetlands Protection Act. So
Gotcha.
it's just getting the normal board comments.
Gotcha.
Um,
And
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I see the drawing. I don't know if you had that drawing pulled up. It just looks like there's an outdoor seating area that's being put in the back.
Yeah, so it's an existing restaurant. It's actually the Blondie's barbecue restaurant. So they're just looking to add some outdoor seating areas. So and it is located within the 100-foot buffer zone. So you can see here is the restaurant. They're looking to add the outdoor seating in this section over here. And then in red is the 25-foot no disturb. And then you can see here in the blue is the 100-foot buffer zone.
So pretty much everything is in there as it's been for
Right.
eons. Okay. Do you have any questions?
How big is the the addition is going to be?
It's no addition, it's just
I mean, the
they're adding like a paver, some stones, and then
nothing.
outdoor seating tables. So no like building that they're adding
Oh,
on
no
to.
building. Okay, and it's okay. But the only difference now they're going to have like customers seated outside, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Mhm. So, I mean, I don't think we can oppose that, right, Rich? Because it's not even a construction. It's just like requesting a permit to
No, I
have
think we would.
our
Yeah, I mean,
seat.
we wouldn't oppose it. I think we would. I think we would probably use our same verbiage that we would request that they, ensure that they've done the mosquito mitigation and the standing water type of precautions for any kind of work or anything. Even this, if it's pavers, just being diligent and being right on top of the wetlands like that. They just people enjoy the outside without being, dragged away by mosquitoes.
Right.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion regarding the property? I'm going to say one more time at 2235 Boston Providence Highway. Request for determination of applicability of the wetlands.
I can make a motion in regards to the request for determination of applicability to 235 Boston Providence Highway. The Board of Health has, I'm not gonna say we have a long stand for for opposing new construction. There won't even be a construction. So I'm just gonna say that the Board of Health has no concerns other than the board would urge the applicant to adopt the standard best practices for mosquito mitigation and to work with Norfolk County Mosquito Control for spraying and standing water treatment, institute regular cleaning of gutters, and provide proper grading of buffer zone areas in order to prevent low points that draw and hold water. Right.
Well
And
said. That's off the cuff. You just remember all that, huh? Great. Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
Perfect. Motion made and seconded. Any other comments? And we will vote. We will start with Mona,
Aye.
and we'll go to Stefan
Aye.
and Rachel,
Aye.
and I also. So comments are submitted regarding the applicant. And the next one looks like it's a similar request for determination for 31 Forsythia Drive. Looks like proposed replacement of existing deck.
Yep. So kind of another simple one, just they're replacing a deck. I think they're raising the deck a little bit. And then again, it's just the reason we're giving comments because it's within the 100-foot buffer zone. Existing house, the existing deck, and then they're raising putting a new deck in the same location. The red is the 25 foot no disturb zone, and then the blue highlighted here is the 100-foot buffer zone.
Looks like the same situation. Whole thing is in the wetlands. Okay, 100 foot. But do you have any questions?
But it was already existing, right?
It's an
It's not-
existing deck. They're just demolishing the existing deck and putting a new deck in.
Right, right.
Anybody want to make a motion regarding the request for determination of 31 Forsythia?
I can make almost the same motion for request for determination of applicability for 30 Forsythia Drive, 31 Forsythia Drive. The Board of Health has no major concerns except in order to protect residents from human vector-borne illnesses, the board recommends that the applicant would adopt the standard practices for mosquito mitigation and to work with Norfolk County Mosquito Control for spraying and standing water treatments, institute regular cleaning of gutters, and provide proper grading of buffer zone areas in order to prevent low points that draw and hold water.
Very good. We have a motion made. Do we hear a second?
I can second.
Perfect. Motion is made and seconded, and we will vote on the motion. Rachel
Aye.
and Mona,
Aye.
Stefan.
Aye.
I also. Comments are submitted regarding 31 Forsythia Drive. 400. Anything else we had? Any new business? Nothing else?
So first off, I want to thank the board and appreciate you for entertaining the septic variance. I know it was kind of a timely manner, and I know it was done after we posted. So we still met the, meeting bylaw requirements, the 48-hour notice, but I appreciate the board taking that into consideration. And then I also just wanted to let the board know or introduce the board to our summer intern. So we have Abigna Reddy on the call tonight. So Abigna started last Tuesday with us. She is in school currently at UConn, and she is studying for her bachelor's degree in molecular and cell biology. So we're gonna, again, like most interns that we have, Megan was an intern of ours, Kelsey on the call also was an intern on ours. So hopefully in a few years from now, we'll have a big no on this call as a routine employee of the town. But just exposing her to everything we can, public health related. She did a few camp inspections with Trish and Megan. What else? Is going to do a perk test with Megan next week. Is going to work with Kelsey a little bit about our drug-free communities grant. And her main project will be looking at our tobacco regulations and revising them. I know tobacco, we were on the forefront. We were, the tobacco 21, eliminating the flavored products. And then I think COVID hit. And not to say it went on the back burner, but I feel like I'd love to see where we're at in comparison to the other communities, if there's anything else. I know we did reduce the number of permits that we allowed in the community, but Abigna's doing a great work already, just a week in, comparing our regulations to other communities. So I will have her present probably maybe in the July meeting, because she's only with us until the middle of August, just on what she's working on. So I just wanted to welcome her and introduce her to our board members.
Absolutely welcome.
Best of luck, Abigna.
Yes, welcome.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Go Huskies.
And that's all I have. And our next meeting was decided on for July 22nd.
Very good.
All right.
All right. Anything else for the board to discuss?
That's all.
Perfect. And we'll make a motion to adjourn. Do we hear a second?
I'll second that.
Perfect. And we'll vote on Mona.
Aye.
Stefan.
Aye.
Rachel.
Aye.
And I also will say meeting is adjourned 8:14. Thank you all. See you on the 22nd of July.